Now, back in April, 9 GOP state senators in Montana were kicked out of their party for voting with Democrat colleagues across the aisle.
Republicans and Democrats voting together.
I mean, I would have worked with anybody if they have a solution.
9 Republican state senators voted with 18 Democrats to form a new majority to pass major legislation last session, undermining the influence of the ultra-conservative caucus of the Montana GOP.
Well, you know, your demand for allegiance has gone awry when members of your own party are willing to risk being lambasted even more so and side with Democrats over you. And yet that's exactly what happened in Montana, of all places, earlier this year, where the state GOP censured 9 Republican state senators and said they are no longer recognized as Republicans for doing what? Wait for it. Because those legislators worked with Democrats to, get things done.
We voted for lowering income tax relief. We invested in infrastructure. We invested in the future of Montana.
Safe to say, it did not go over well.
Y'all were called part of the nasty 9.
Yeah, that's a bullying, that's right.
I say necessary 9.
The political punishment was swift. The 9 senators were censured by their own party in April, stripped of their GOP status, and in June, cut off from voting rights at Republican Party conventions.
And in a recent interview, those Republicans didn't back down. In fact, they doubled down. And in doing so, they revealed something very real about how national figures like Donald Trump have reshaped what it means to be a Republican and ultimately how he is now failing.
But I don't think that you need to have a report, an autopsy, or be a rocket scientist with a degree from Harvard to know why we lost. And we did already. Myself and all of my fellow Democrats talked about why we lost. And I'm sorry, we have done course correction. 25 Republican state seats that we flipped, Republicans flipped 0. We flipped a gubernatorial seat in the state of Virginia. You want to say it's blue? Is Glenn Youngkin a Democrat? New Jersey, we have a governor there. Here in this city, incredible turnout. And what we are doing, Todd, I would agree with you that we need to look at the issues where Republicans and where the president are not doing well. I mean, he's hemorrhaging Latinos, youth and independent voters right now on issues such as immigration, on issues such as the economy. And that's what Democrats need to do. But they don't need to have just one message. I mean, yes, when you're in a federal election, what we've seen that has been successful, what's been very successful for the new mayor here in New York and every single Democrat success in each state is they're going to the people, they're pounding the pavement, and they're saying, what will make your life better? What are the issue or issues you care about? And that's what they need to campaign on.
Now, to refresh everyone's memory, in April of 2025, the Montana Republican Party's executive committee formally censored 9 GOP state senators. And then they went a step further, declaring that they should no longer be considered Republicans. Why? Because the 9 senators dared to join with Senate Democrats to form a working majority in the Montana Senate and pass legislation, which included efforts like Medicaid expansion, teacher pay increases, better funding for infrastructure, and other notable priorities. That, of course, the GOP leadership opposed, because what says America first, like leaving people without health care and paying teachers less?
It become more my way or the highway.
What was at stake, Senator?
Big things, as far as I was concerned, was the Medicaid expansion. An example of one of the hospitals I work with, they work on a pretty small margin.
Senator, what was at stake for you?
Medicaid reauthorization. I had 2 rural hospitals in my district.
What would have happened if you had not been able to pass this legislation?
Well, you get people that will go to the emergency room. So we end up paying 2 and 3 times the cost as taxpayers. And if that happens, pretty soon the doors are going to close as well.
And as a result, those Republicans said that they would no longer fund the campaigns of those who stood with the Democrats. These 9 senators weren't wide-eyed radicals. In fact, they simply just chose to work with Democrats on legislation that they believed would benefit their constituents rather than, say, follow a rigid party line. But that's the thing, right? In the day and age of MAGA politics, working to benefit their constituents is considered slanderous to those who side with the cult leader. He'd rather everyone suffer as long as he upholds his strongman image, and no Republicans should work with Democrats.
There's a moral blindness here. There's a moral ambiguity. I do not get it. And that's why I'm very vocal, because this will go down in the history books. And I want America to be on the right side of this. And I want to be on the right side of it. And I hope the president sees he's going down as a Chamberlain, not as a Churchill, when it comes to this particular war.
This despite the fact that their coalition effectively produced a working majority, something that Republicans can't seem to grasp in Washington. The Republican-controlled Senate reshaped committees and passed laws that Republican leadership wouldn't have passed on its own. But that coalition was considered controversial, and Montana's GOP branded it as a betrayal. However, in our interview conducted just over the past few days, they refused to back down. And in the interview, the members of the censored group emphasized that they were elected to serve their constituents, not to toe a national party line. They stated that these were just attempts from insiders to punish legislators for doing their jobs.
And if we weren't willing to sit down and talk, we would have never accomplished half of what we did.
Americans need that right now. Just don't look left, don't look right. Look ahead at the goal, which is to serve our constituents. There's a lot of pain in Montana right now.
They want to see relief. They want to see their quality of life improved.
I refuse to view the word bipartisan as a bad word.
Now that, of course, is bound to ruffle feathers in the newly minted gold lacquered Oval Office, which often outweighs responsiveness to local needs. I mean, this Montana episode isn't an isolated state house squabble, right? It reflects a broader national trend that we're seeing, especially this year. Republican lawmakers are facing major blowback for standing up to Donald Trump or his agenda. None more notable, it seems, than the likes of Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene of late.
Well, I'd say this turmoil started a couple of weeks ago when President Trump weighed in against 60 Minutes. You'll remember he sued the network last year over a segment. Paramount settled that lawsuit. Trump then praised the new owners of Paramount. But 2 weeks ago, he came out railing against 60 Minutes because the program interviewed Marjorie Taylor Greene. After that point, I'm told new editor-in-chief Barry Weiss became more personally involved in the politics stories that 60 Minutes was working on. And in recent days, there was a lot of internal scrutiny over this planned segment about that notorious prison in El Salvador. On Saturday, according to correspondent Sharon Alfonsi, the piece was spiked by Barry Weiss, and Sharon Alfonsi says in a memo, we can put part of her quote on screen, "In my view, pulling the piece now after every rigorous internal check has been met is not an editorial decision, it is a political one." This correspondent went on to say that the public is going to view this as corporate censorship, and they are right to do so. Furthermore, she said it's a betrayal to the people she interviewed, some of these deportees who described torturous conditions inside the prison.
And fighting over whose subscribers are real and whose bots, and Candace Owens is kind of the conspiracy theory linchpin, I guess, of all of this, that everyone is then having a fight over, Megyn Kelly, Ben Shapiro, Steve Bannon. It didn't feel particularly unified and collaborative to me watching as an outsider. Obviously, the politics that were on display at Turning Point are not my politics. I did, though, find it exciting to see so many young people there, high schoolers who had opened up chapters in their schools after Charlie's horrible assassination. And, again, not my politics, but I think the country will be better off for more people being involved in politics. And I think that that's a big success story. J.D. Vance's speech, though, was on substance pretty incoherent. I mean, the idea of saying everyone is invited and that this is the greatest coalition of supporters, and then also saying in the United States of America, you don't have to apologize for being white anymore, and that we're a Christian nation doesn't feel particularly inviting to me. And also, Kellyanne spoke about the coalition that Trump put together for 2024, and it was a huge achievement. I mean, I sat here and ate proverbial crow for what feels like days, months, years. We're getting there. But today, Donald Trump's approval with Gen Z voters is at 29%, and he's only at 32% with Latino voters. It has completely swung back to the usual levels that we saw in the 2020 election when Joe Biden got 81 million votes. He has a lot of work to do, and you saw that coming to bear also the November 5th elections in New Jersey and Virginia, right back to where we started. So those voters were on loan for one election. He's going to have to do a lot of work to get them back. Over 10% unemployment rate for Gen Zs right now.
But what does it say about a party when getting things done is considered a punishable offense? I mean, what would they rather these Republicans do? just do nothing but open and close the government all year like Mike Johnson does. And the thing is, the reason this resonates more widely is because it mirrors what many analysts describe as the post-Trump loyalty test. If you won't support the National Party's figurehead every time on every single issue where your district disagrees, you're treated as a threat, not just a dissenter. But as I've reported on, that stronghold's weakening, which is why even Fox News hosts are less than excited about what 2026 holds for the Republican Party.
Okay, Katie, one thing that we should also see, Mark is right, the midterms right now look ugly unless the Republicans really get serious.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.